Y'all know about Tetris? Don't answer that, of course you do. Everyone knows Tetris, and if anyone told me they'd never played Tetris, I would think they were lying. There are over 200 versions of the falling block puzzler across like every platform ever over the years. Whether you know it as the original Game Boy's killer app or a browser-based time waster, Tetris has probably been a part of your life at some point or another. You know what it is. The blocks fall, you stack them. I'm not explaining Tetris to you. The basics of Tetris and its addictive, just one more game, quality carry across its myriad releases and have remained a good time over the years. Tetris is timeless, and you can reasonably assume most versions of the quad block stack 'em up will end up pretty fun regardless of the platform. And are there ever different versions of Tetris? Over the years, the formula has seen the inclusion of everything from bombs to Mickey Mouse to hats. What? With all these different takes on Tetris, anyone could end up getting attached to a specific release as their version of Tetris. Your Tetris. The Tetris that comes to mind when you hear or think the name. And that could be for any reason. Could just be a nostalgia thing, where one version in particular makes you feel all cozy. Maybe a mechanical mix-up really clicked with you. Could even just be a music or aesthetic preference. My Tetris is all of the above. Let's talk about Tetris Plus. Jaleco unleashed their take on Tetris for arcades in 1996, with home ports to the PlayStation and Saturn following later that year. As far as I can tell, both ports of Tetris Plus are identical, and I'll be discussing the PlayStation version here. Booting this one up, the main modes on offer are Classic and Puzzle Mode. Classic Mode is about what you'd expect. Up to 2 players can play side by side, and it's classic Tetris. Plus's Classic Mode does have an odd quirk worth mentioning in how it handles scoring and difficulty though. In every other version of Tetris I can think of, the blocks fall progressively faster as you clear lines. In Plus, a meter around the playfield's border fills as you get higher score, changing game speed and resetting when it reaches the top. This doesn't always increase speed though, as the pace slows back down after certain breakpoints as well. This is odd. I'm not going to say it's an improvement over the standard clear 10 lines, game gets faster setup most versions of Tetris operate under, but it is interesting. This change to the rule set creates these moments of panic and relief as you frantically stack during faster speeds to hopefully get to a slower moment to catch your breath. I could see these changes being off-putting to purists, but I quite like Plus's Classic Mode. Novelty aside, I find the dynamically changing speed really engaging to keep up with. It's not exactly a mellow, chill-out Tetris experience, but that's okay. It's doing its own thing, and honestly, Classic Mode isn't the main draw here anyway. Puzzle Mode is the real meat and potatoes of Tetris Plus. Here, a professor and his assistant are exploring ancient tombs in search of treasure. A dangerous endeavor to be sure. Booby traps abound, and navigating them successfully requires more than a little puzzle proficiency. Here's how this works. The professor is right here on the playfield where you stack your classic Tetraminos. The goal here is to get the little guy to the bottom. He'll walk at a steady pace till he hits a wall in 180s. He'll fall through any 2-block wide gap, and will climb any blocks placed in front of him. Complicating matters is the aforementioned booby trap, a spike ceiling, lowering over time that will end the game if it makes contact with the prof's noggin. I really enjoy this mode. The way the professor moves and reacts to the falling blocks allows for a surprising amount of skill expression as you figure out the best way to corral the little guy and keep him safe from the lowering ceiling and his own climbing habit. The way you can place the blocks under the ceiling to destroy ones you don't want can also be pretty clutch. This is just a really fun spin on the Tetris formula, and with 100 stages in puzzle mode, there's a good amount of content here to chew through. Versus multiplayer is also played with the puzzle mode rules, with doubles and betters sending rows to the bottom of the other player's board, pushing the professor up towards the spikes. The professor's movements and the garbage you get from the opponent add just enough chaos to the head-to-head battles to make playing and spectating them a blast. Even all these years later, Tetris Plus is still one of my all-time favorite party games. This game is also peak aesthetic. The chibi sprites and animations for the professor and his assistant are adorable, and the brief snippets we get of them exploring are depicted in wonderfully 90s anime art stills. Even the Tetramino blocks look appealing, and if you've played enough versions of Tetris, you know that's not something you can take for granted. The soundtrack is also fire. Seriously, there is not a dud in this track list, and if you take nothing else from this video, go listen to the Tetris Plus OST. The sound design in general is solid, with heavy thumps as blocks fall, and the announcer narrating each different kind of clear you get. I love this touch, even if it has the side effect of reminding me of how lonely I am. Single, single, single. I actually learned a few things doing research for this video. First, I discovered that this wasn't the most popular game when it was released in '96, and many reviews were actually quite mean to this one. I owned it back then and had no idea. I honestly don't know what the heck those critics' problem was, but I think they were kinda hating for no reason. Maybe anti-2D bias? I don't know. Tetris Plus is a feeble attempt at reviving a legend. Graphically, Tetris Plus hasn't improved at all from the original Tetris coin-op game. The visuals would be so-so for a 16-bit game, but in the 32-bit world, they're almost inexcusable. The sound effects and music are happy, bouncy fun, which means most players will turn the sound off in under 10 minutes flat. So serious. Second, there's a Game Boy version of Tetris Plus. I always find these kinds of demakes fascinating, so I checked it out and played a little for this video. It's honestly not bad at all. It's pretty impressive how much of the presentation they were able to preserve on the smaller machine, and if you're looking for a portable version of the game or are just really into the Game Boy, I recommend it. I also found this Japanese commercial. You know, it's just 15 seconds, let's watch it together. Thank you for sharing in this moment with me. I feel like we're all a little closer now because of it. With so many takes on Tetris and other puzzle games still getting current releases, it's a real shame that the only ways to play Tetris Plus these days are tracking down physical copies and the hardware to play them on, or emulating. Maybe City Connection, the folks who purchased Jaleco's assets after they dissolved in 2014, can give us a modern release. The game certainly deserves to be preserved and discovered by new players, and a port could breathe new life into this charming but very overlooked puzzler. Until then, if you have the means, no matter how you get your hands on it, Tetris Plus is very much worth a look for puzzle fans. It's overflowing with personality and is a very fun and genuinely novel take on a classic. Everyone has theirs, but Tetris Plus is my Tetris. Could end up being yours too, but there's only one way to find out. If you're a fan of puzzle games, you should play Tetris Plus. Single. 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 Yeah. Ouch. Fantastic.